Let's talk all things business. I'm Sam LaPrade, and this is Ottawa Business Matters. Our first guest, as always, is Sueling Ching. She is the president and CEO of the Ottawa Board of Trade. Hello, Sueling.
Hi, Sam.
Such a great time in this city. I mean, the city just feels alive to me. Is that how it's feeling for you?
Well, we're very active in the business community, and I think people are getting really excited with the fresh weather and the optimism for our summer season. So I think so too.
Tourism is such a big part of what we do here, but so many different sectors in this city really make the business world tick here. We know that there's some big developments coming down in terms of the economic development plan for this city. How excited are you about what's to come?
I'll tell you what I'm excited about, and we've been talking about some of the big high impact projects that are going on in Ottawa, and we talked about them at our City Building Summit. You know, the new developments at the airport, the new developments at the hospital, the next stage of the LRT, all really big projects that are going on all at the same time in Ottawa. But what I'm really excited about too is the ability for our economic partners to work together to synergize the work that we're doing in order to optimize our opportunities here in Ottawa. So we work really closely at the Board of Trade with the City of Ottawa, Ottawa Tourism, and Invest Ottawa, and many other economic partners. And we've done that as well with our upcoming Downtown Ottawa Action agenda, which will be coming out next week. So that's just an example of how we've been able to work together to make sure that we're maximizing our opportunities here in Ottawa.
This isn't going to be done in a silo, right? I mean, this is a lot of partners coming together to make this a reality. When we think about the urban development and the rural development, two very different parts of our city, but both requiring and needing attention.
Absolutely, and everyone understanding that they are interconnected. So we have been very focused on the downtown because the downtown is a particular challenge now and also a particular opportunity for transformation with the changes that we've seen in the workforce strategy, particularly with the federal government. So it's an opportunity for us to revisit what that downtown core could look like. So someone in the outskirts or in the rural areas of the city or the region, may wonder why are we focusing so much and investing so much in the downtown? Well, that's because it is all connected, and if the downtown thrives, then the whole region will thrive, and the opposite is true. If it does decline, then it will impact all of us across the region. So in that regard, we're all one city, and we're all connected in that way.
When I look at my calendar, I see different events from the Ottawa Board of Trade sprinkled throughout my calendar. There's so much going on. Next week, a really important conversation with their Honourable Anita Anand. Talk to me a little bit about the Mayor's Breakfast and why the Minister is going to be coming and speaking.
So the Mayor's Breakfast is a very popular event. We all often get 200 plus business and community leaders out early in the morning, 7 a.m. at City Hall. And he's been very focused on helping us bring in speakers that are really relevant to what's going on in Ottawa right now. And so Minister Anand, who is of course the President of the Treasury Board, has a big portfolio that will highly impact particularly Ottawa, and is very involved in the workforce strategy that the federal government moves forward with. And we have been meeting with her as well to talk about some of the unique challenges facing Ottawa and how the federal government can work together with the City of Ottawa and our economic development plans in order to help move us along as a community as well. So we're excited to see her and hear what she has to say and to continue to collaborate with her moving forward.
And that advocacy work is so important. And I think a lot of people may think being a member of the Ottawa Board of Trade is all about the networking. And don't get me wrong, I love it. And a lot of members really do come together, and there's lots of business to business opportunities. But it's this advocacy work that's being done on a regular basis that businesses know they can rely on the Ottawa Board of Trade to do this type of work.
Well, it's the reason why boards of trade and chambers of commerce exist, is to create a voice and represent the interests of the business community. And we do that as advocates, and we do it as economic development partners. And it allows us to galvanize the business leaders and work in their interests and the interests of the entire community with important partners like the city and Ottawa Tourism, but also to advocate at other levels of government arm in arm with our city, because as we know, a lot of decisions are made at the provincial and the federal level that impact both our ability to fund and deliver services in the city, but also that impact the policies that impact our businesses and their ability to do well. So through taxes, through labor policies, trade policies. So those are all things that we keep our eye on for the business community, and it is the singular value proposition that's unique to chambers of commerce and boards of trade. And also, if I could just mention, what's unique is that we are doing this on behalf of all businesses in Ottawa. So it doesn't matter what the size or the sector is. All of those businesses are impacted by the advocacy work that we do over and above the benefits that we offer, including our networking events.
And speaking about networking events, Women, Wit and Wisdom coming up next week. I saw the lineup. What a dynamic group of women you have.
Yeah, so we always want to feature strong local women leaders, and we've done that again this time. We have Sonia Shorey joining us, and she's the interim president and CEO of Invest Ottawa, and we have Jennifer Stewart joining us, and she is the founder of a very successful company, Syntax Strategy, but she's also the co-founder of a network called The Honest Talk, which you've been on.
Yeah.
And then we have Mona Abo, and she has a couple of different ventures, but we're really interested in her Changemaker Hub, where she is supporting immigrant entrepreneurs. So we really wanted to talk about the ability for women to harness their own personal power, to create fabulous lives for themselves, and to optimize their contributions to our community and to our businesses. And so we are really excited to have these folks, and we have a few fun surprises in store for that night as well.
I can't wait. I can't wait. It's marked on my calendar. And of course, 40 Under 40 around the corner as well, June 21st. I'm seeing on LinkedIn all of these people that have, obviously received this incredible recognition from years past share that they've been a recipient, but the people that are receiving it this year, are they ever excited? I see them on LinkedIn saying they're very excited for June 21st.
Yes, so I would encourage everyone to get their tickets right away, because it is a popular event, this gala, and we host it at Casino Lac Limi. And we're very excited about it, and happy to get to know this new cohort. And you're right, though, like even past cohorts, because there have been 26 past cohorts, they always write on their profile that they're a 40 Under 40 recipient, very proud of it. And I know I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Many of past 40 Under 40 winners are today's leaders. So, they've been identified for a reason, not just because of the success that they're having in business, but also for their desire to contribute to community.
Yeah. We have a number of great guests coming up today. One I want to make note of is Ian Sherman. Ian, of course, you and Ian worked very closely together. And I just think that, the past chair of the Ottawa Board of Trade would have such an interesting perspective of the work you're doing.
I'm sure he will. Yeah. Ian is such a prominent leader in our community, as you know, and I've had the privilege of working with him since I joined the Board of Trade 4 years ago. And he has a lot to take credit for in our business community, particularly for me, through the Board of Trade, walking through the consolidation of the Chambers of Commerce, going through the pandemic, the occupation. And so he has a lot to be proud of, and this business community has a lot to be grateful for in his leadership.
Absolutely. Cindy VanBuskirk is going to join us as well, of course, from the City of Ottawa, focused on economic development. You must work closely with someone like Cindy as well.
Yes, we do. The city is a fabulous partner for the Board of Trade, and Cindy has been the lead for us on many important files, including high impact projects, downtown transformation. She serves on our economic development committee, and she's just a really great liaison, cheerleader for the city, and such a competent, strong woman leader.
And I noticed in the green room as we're getting ready today, chatting with Nick McCarthy from Beechwood, and I think people are going to be really surprised to see what Beechwood is all about if they haven't had the opportunity to be connected. And I think Beechwood as a member of the Ottawa Board of Trade, but really that partner in this community. I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised today.
Yeah, it's a wonderful example of a business that does really well in delivering the service that they're providing, and there's magic in that, you know, and then how they've extended those services to really be a strong part of the business community. So looking forward to hearing that conversation as well.
It's going to be wonderful. And when I think about all of the members of the Ottawa Board of Trade, I always see somebody different at an event, and every single sector seems to be represented. How important is it for you when well, let's say you're at the podium and you're welcoming everyone to the mayor's breakfast, that you see people from high tech and from retail and from all these different sectors in the city? How important is that for you?
I think it's really important in terms of building that community and those connections, and lots of businesses want to get together with others in their specific sector because they have specific issues that are common to them, but at the Board of Trade, what we want to talk about is business issues that go across all sectors and sizes of business, and that may pertain to city building and our community at large. And it's just, you never know where those opportunities are going to arise. And I think that what we try and do is provide a platform for people to get to know each other, build strong relationships, promote their business or their brand, and so I'm happy that we're able to do that.
And I think you've done a really good job of making sure there's a level that's available for everyone. I think that's what was really nice when I sort of looked at membership for myself. Where do I see myself in this level of membership? And everybody can see themselves there. And I think some of the bigger businesses have a bigger role to play.
Well, yeah, so they have they might think of it as corporate citizenship, but the truth is that, and we learned this the last 4 years, every section of our business community, every sector, every place across the city is connected to each other. And so some people might want to join and just come out to the networking events, and then others, take surveys and are able to influence our priorities through surveys, and then others, sit at the table with the decision makers to help represent the interests of the business community. So there definitely is something for everyone, and we do encourage every business in Ottawa to be a member of their local Board of Trade. It's very important. I sometimes say, think about what the city would be like if you didn't have a local Board of Trade. And so we want to make sure that we're strong. And I just this week got to meet with my colleagues at the other large city chambers of commerce across the country, talking about the things that we have in common as large metropolitan areas, how important it is to make sure we have vibrant cities. We account for over 60% of the GDP across the country. So
amazing. Thank you so much, as always.
Thank you.
Coming up next from the City of Ottawa, Cindy VanBuskirk. And we are back on Ottawa Business Matters, and I'm so excited to welcome to the show Cindy VanBuskirk. Hello, Cindy. How are you?
Hi, Sam. Thanks for having me today.
You have this incredible role with the City of Ottawa. Tell us what you do.
Well, I'm a program manager in economic development services with the city, and I've been there for about 6 years, following a long career in the private sector. And I am responsible with a team for managing the city's engagement on economic development. And we focus really on, we always say, we want to make Ottawa a place to live, work, play, invest, learn, and visit. And we're wholly focused on economic growth, diversification, business, talent, investment, attraction, and retention.
It's amazing.
And if we can deliver on that, we can really enhance quality of life and make Ottawa a place that people want to come to, live, start businesses, and stay.
Yeah, beautifully, beautifully said. I think I've been following your career for a very long time, and you've done such an incredible job over the years. And I love the fact that you came from, we all love the Rideau Centre, so came from the Rideau Centre, so your perspective is really interesting to then bring that to the private sector. So talk to me a little bit about that change.
Well, absolutely. So I was with Rideau Centre for 27 years, 11 as general manager, and left the Rideau Centre and joined the City of Ottawa. It's been, as I said, 6 years. And I have I always had an appreciation for the role the city played in our community, certainly from the business side, but also as a resident. Had great engagements with various people at the city during my private sector life. And I have a great respect and admiration for the hard work that goes on, both on the part of city staff as well as our elected officials. You know, if good intentions could be the only thing that we needed to move us forward, we'd be exactly where we want to be right now, because there's a lot of hard work happening at City Hall.
Yeah, agreed. So talk to me a little bit about when we say economic development. So if you and I got in an elevator together and we were going 20 stories up, what would you tell me about economic development?
Well, you know, I like to talk, but the way economic development works at the city, we really have what we call a hybrid delivery model. So we work with a lot of partners. We have a very, very vibrant economic development ecosystem here with some very mature economic development organizations that are really subject matter experts and deliver great impact for our city, like the Board of Trade, like Invest Ottawa, Ottawa Tourism, the Ottawa Coalition of BIAs by way of example, the Ottawa Film Office, the Ottawa Music Industry Coalition. So there are many, many organizations that are working in their subject matter areas and really creating value, advocating on behalf of their members or their stakeholders. And so what the city does is we look for opportunities to support those partners, but we also drive economic development change and activity as well through things like our new economic development strategy and action plan by way of example, our nightlife economy action plan, rural economic development strategy. So pieces of work that we can do and then implement that will enhance the efforts of our partners.
A lot of attention, of course, on the downtown core, and so it should be. I mean, this is such an important place for all of us. I think no matter whether you live in Orleans or Canada or Stittsville, it's really key that the core of the city is vibrant and alive. So talk to me a little bit about what your thoughts are on that and where the city's going.
Well, it came through loud and clear through the consultation and engagement we did as we were developing the new economic development strategy and action plan. Downtown and the Byward Market and talent were sort of the two buckets of things that we heard from the broader business community were important. So there's clear recognition in a post-pandemic environment that something in downtown needs to change. The workforce that we benefited from, federal government workforce pre-pandemic, is not coming back in the same way, and that's okay. So it's really created this inflection point where we have an opportunity to adapt, reimagine, rebalance, revitalize, all those words, and make downtown something that we can all embrace and be proud of for the next 50 years. It needs to be a place where people are living, people are working, people are visiting, and is an environment that's welcoming. It's a place people want to go. I don't know how often I live in Orleans. I'm a longtime Orleans resident after living in downtown for a long time, and people say I never go downtown. Why would I ever want to go downtown? I don't need to go downtown. And I think that's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because where they live, whether it's a suburban neighborhood or a rural village, they feel that they're well served with amenities in that area, and I think that's great. But if downtown is not creating opportunities and giving people reasons to visit, then that's on us as a collective community to really investigate that and try to move things forward. So, you know, the Ottawa Board of Trade has really been a fantastic leader in engaging with the Canadian Urban Institute around the new Downtown Action Plan, which will be released very, very shortly. The city's been at the table as a partner. This is a piece of work we would have done this year, but the Board of Trade was out ahead of us, so we took the opportunity to collaborate with them. And it really lays out some very clear tactical steps, things that we can do to move the needle and improve our downtown. So what the city will do with this report when it's released is we'll bring it back to the city and start to unpack all of those recommendations and actions and see what we can do and what we can deliver on.
And you said a word, collaborate. I mean, this is all about collaboration. As I said to Sueling earlier, this is not about us working in silos at all.
100%. And you know, I've said this to Sueling many times and others, but A lot of bad things came out of the pandemic. It was not a great time for people. But the one good thing that I always point to that came out of the pandemic is that people and organizations that never worked together, didn't move in the same sphere, came together around a common purpose during the pandemic, and those relationships that have been established specifically between those economic development organizations, and I count the city among those, have outlasted the pandemic. And I think we're far better as a ecosystem than we were pre-pandemic. So I think that's been a bit of a gift in some respects.
Yeah, beautifully said. And just this weekend, I headed to the NAC with my best friend, and we saw a show at the NAC, and then we're like, okay, we feel like some appetizers. So then we walked down and we went to Elgin Street, and I just think seeing the evening side of this city, even though I'm hustling, bustling around downtown with work meetings, that evening side is pretty cool.
It's great, and people like to throw shade, you know, at Ottawa, rolling up the sidewalks. You know, we've all heard those stereotypes that anybody who lives here really knows that that's not accurate at all. And one of the reasons that our team at the city decided to really invest in a piece of work, the Nightlife Economy Action Plan, was this recognition that taking a look at our nightlife and you know, really exploring those opportunities to grow the economy between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. and looking at all of those venues, attractions, and experiences that make a robust nightlife, that could really move the needle. You know, great cities around the world are investing in their nightlife economy. What can we do here in Ottawa to move the needle? And one of the first actually the very first recommendation in that action plan is the creation of a nightlife commissioner office. So we've been in a recruitment process, and we'll be announcing very shortly the outcome of that recruitment process.
Oh, I cannot wait.
And a new nightlife commissioner. So we're eager to get started and get going.
Yeah, it's so exciting.
It is.
And then, you know, from your perspective, it's really interesting because, of course, most people think about the downtown core, but there's these beautiful pockets all through our city which are really important to the economic development of this city. So how do you focus? It's almost like having a lot of kids. How do you focus on which kid? Like, how do you make sure everybody is feeling the love?
That is a very, very, very good question. We are blessed in Ottawa to have a vibrant downtown core that's on the cusp of even more greatness, we hope, in the coming decades. We have wonderful neighborhoods that surround our downtown. We have very mature suburban areas that are growing exponentially, and also amazing rural areas that really contribute to the overall vibrancy of what Ottawa means and what our broader region means. You know, one thing that we talked about quite a bit in branding work that we were doing a few years ago in collaboration with Ottawa Tourism was this idea of Ottawa developing its own brand, which we did, and that on the brand scale, we're quite immature when you look at a brand like New York City.
Right.
So New York City doesn't promote New York City anymore. They promote their boroughs in, you know, Soho and Brooklyn and Queens. They don't talk about New York anymore. And we're really vested in trying to grow our neighborhoods. So places like Vanier and Westboro and the Glebe that have, through strong BIAs, quite frankly, have developed very, very strong identities and sense of place and public realm. And we love working with our BIAs and, you know, supporting them and taking that to the next level as well.
Yeah, and it's so important. I think it's. I'm living in Richmond now. I'm one
Wonderful
of those
community.
Oh, it's beautiful. I'm one of those gals. But I do think about you know, a community like Richmond. You know, what the kind of attention that it would get in terms of economic development as well. All things on the plate of the city of Ottawa.
Definitely, and you know, we have a rural economic development strategy that really sort of encompasses those outer areas, if you will, that are sort of in the rural environment, and we'll be doing a bit of a refresh on that later this year. The city will be hosting a rural summit. There's been some public engagement happening in our rural wards already this year. It'll culminate in a rural summit in the fall, and we'll take the outputs from that summit and all of that consultation, and we'll unpack our existing strategy and do a bit of a refresh and see where those new opportunities are for those communities that are in our rural areas.
Over the number of years, we only have a couple minutes, but the last number of years I've had a chance to speak with a lot of CEOs, a lot of entrepreneurs, and I do say to them, why Ottawa? Why stay here? Why start here? What's your answer to that question?
Oh my gosh, we need another segment to really unpack that, I think. I've said it already, we are just blessed with natural assets, green space, a city that cares about its residents and wants to invest in things like affordable housing and mental health supports and things of that nature. I think we are, as a G7 capital, we have an opportunity to really push ourselves a little bit on the world stage. And I think that anybody who's considering coming to school here, moving here, raising a family here, bringing their business here, or starting a business here, I don't think there's any place else in Canada they could do it better.
I can see why you have your job. You do a beautiful job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
From the city of Ottawa, of course, Cindy VanBuskirk joining us. When we come back, the one and only Ian Sherman. Stay with us on Ottawa Business Matters. Well, our next guest I've interviewed many, many times on radio, first time on television, first time on Ottawa Business Matters, and I'm so excited to welcome to the show Ian Sherman. Hello, Ian.
Good morning, Sam. How are you?
Good. It's so great to see you during this interview process because normally we're just on the telephone together, so it's great to have you in studio today. And when I think about Ian Sherman, I don't know what hat to talk about because you wear many, many hats. I want to focus first on your role as past chair of the Ottawa Board of Trade. We spoke earlier with Sueling Ching, of course, president and CEO of the Ottawa Board of Trade, and she spoke, Ian, about really this legacy work that you've done because 20 years too late, let's be honest, these boards of trade consolidated to become the Ottawa Board of Trade. You led that. You led us through a pandemic. You led us through a convoy. Do you need a nap, my friend? Because it was a lot.
I'm good with where things are at. Let's just say that serving 6 years as chair of the Ottawa Chamber of Commerce, which morphed into the Ottawa Board of Trade upon consolidation, is a long time for any individual to serve as chair. And it probably breaches the boundaries of good governance as well in terms of term limits. However, there were circumstances that took me on a 6-year journey as chair that I embraced, and we took the many adversities that we were facing throughout the years and turned them into opportunities. So I would admit that in some ways I missed the role as chair. However, it was time to pass the torch. We spent a lot of time through the last 3 years in particular focused on succession planning at the chair level. And we have an incredible team, an incredible board of directors, an incredible executive committee. How many times can I say incredible in a conversation?
It's all good.
And that was a big part of why I had to embrace a 6-year journey as chair. We're so well positioned. Brendan McGinty, our current chair, right time, right place, right moment for him to continue the focus on advocacy work that we started during this journey.
And, you know, I think back, as particularly the first 90 days of COVID, we called on you many, many times for my radio show because you were somebody that remained incredibly positive during the darkest of days. And I always admired that you were really trying to uplift the city and know and really share with businesses that the Ottawa Board of Trade had their back through the darkest of days. When you look back on that time in your leadership role, what does it feel like for you to know that you served in probably one of the darkest days we'll ever face?
Listen, I'd be lying, quite frankly, which hopefully I never do, if I said I don't have a great sense of purpose and fulfillment about the journey that we were on. It's been very inspirational, and I've taken a lot of self-satisfaction in what we've accomplished. However, it's never about me, and it has never been about me. It has been about us. And leadership at its highest levels was absolutely mandatory. It wasn't optional during this period of time. And so as much as we faced the adversity of a pandemic, and if you recall, which you likely do, day one of the pandemic was Sueling Ching's first day on the job as president and CEO of the Ottawa Board of Trade. And we just had to rise up and do what was right for the community. Being able to have leadership positions of this nature in our community is a gift. It's an honor. It's a blessing. And I and the team that I was surrounded with, led by Sueling and, again, an incredible board of directors, we rose up to the occasion. We did what needed to be done. I always prefer to look at the glass half full, regardless of what the adversities are. We all face many adversities in life. This was a community adversity where we need to call upon business leadership to rise to the occasion and support particularly the most vulnerable. But it was a time when everyone was vulnerable. And so it took a team effort, and I'm very proud of what we accomplished.
And when we speak about the most vulnerable, when I think about Ian Sherman, I think about philanthropist, I think about community leader in the philanthropy sector. You also wore those hats, and you wear those hats in this community. I want to talk about the intersection of all that, because I think some people think, well, I'm a business leader, or I'm a philanthropist, or I'm a community leader, at the grassroots level. But you're all of those. How do you manage all of that?
A lot of sleepless nights, I'll admit that.
Yeah, I get that.
And I'm very fortunate to be able to manage that. I'm also very fortunate to have the most supportive wife in the world, among, I'm sure, many other supportive spouses throughout this community. So a shout out to Randy. I would say that being a business leader is not only a privilege, if I'm allowed to use that word. It's not only an honor, it's not only a blessing, it comes with an obligation. And it's a big obligation to the community at large, to those outside of your sphere of business. It's an obligation to charitable organizations, to philanthropy, and we all need to do the maximum amount that we can possibly do, whether that's with our pocketbooks, our investment of time, our investment of mind and share of heart.
Beautifully said. I remember AFP, the Association of Fundraising Professionals, and you received an award, and your speech brought tears to my eyes that night. Do you remember that night well?
I do, and I always will.
Tell me why.
First of all, I was completely blown away when I received the call that I was going to be the recipient of that award, because I was just doing what I was expected to be doing as a business leader in my own small way, and a community leader in my own small way, and a little bit of a philanthropic volunteer in my own small way. And within my family and the way I've learned from mentors in my family, from mentors in my community, this is how we live our lives. And so I was surprised that I was even at the podium that night when I got the call. Was it an inspiring evening? It certainly was. To have, of course, my wife and my 3 young adult sons be able to participate in that experience, to continue to mentor them a little bit further in terms of what we need to do in giving back to our community. And you weren't the only one with tears in your eyes that night. That was a very difficult speech for me to give, but I let everything loose from the bottom of my heart.
I'm getting teary thinking about it right now. Honestly, that was a very, very special night. I'll never forget it either. When we think about, you mentioned the word mentorship, and you mentioned your 3 sons. Is there enough mentorship in this community to create the leaders we need to take us forward?
I'm going to say yes and no, both at the same time. We are surrounded by a tremendous volume and qualitative volume of next generation of leaders. And we're seeing them start to play a very significant and substantive role in our community. The no side of me says, there are so many demands that we never have enough. And frankly, we will never have enough. But if I was to leave one message in that regard in today's conversation, if you have the ability, if you have the means, and I'm not talking about pocketbook means, I'm talking about volunteer time means, please step forward. Our community needs you. There's a place for you. I've always said, if people like me can offer to rise up to give a little bit of time in our community, you can make a difference.
What would you say to maybe someone who's listening right now and they're 25, 30 years old and they're just eking in, they're thinking about maybe getting a membership with the Ottawa Board of Trade, they're trying to find their way in the business community. What advice would you give them?
Well, first of all, and Sueling, of course, would tell me, I have to say this, you must have a membership.
Yes.
And membership is possible for everyone. There is a level of membership that is attainable for everyone. And my goal for the Ottawa Board of Trade over the course of time is that all businesses in this community, all 25,000 plus, are members of the Ottawa Board of Trade, whether it's in a large way, a medium way, or a small way. And secondly, there's a place for you. We are a very caring organization. Sueling and her team are so compassionate, and we will find a way to embrace and accept you into the Ottawa Board of Trade, and you can make a difference.
And I think, and I was very blessed, it was the 165th AGM I hosted, and I was so proud to be there. I was so excited. And when I looked out, I thought, and I'm going to use a Brendan McGinty line if it's okay with you. This isn't your grandfather's Ottawa Board of Trade.
Correct.
I was so impressed. I was like, there was women, there was diversity, there was, I saw tons of my friends there. I had no idea they were going to be there. They were like, Sam, what are you doing here? Right? So I think that's a really important message that we share, that this is for everyone.
We've not only embraced, and I want to focus on diversity, we've not only talked about diversity, we've embraced diversity. Our board of directors has more women than men. That's a step in the right direction because we have incredibly talented women sitting at our board table, to the likes of Cindy VanBuskirk years ago. And we've got a board of trade that has been very inclusive. We have tremendous diversity of thought. I think we've demonstrated that we're really good listeners. Yes, we want to be leaders. However, with that comes very active listening, and we've done that through the years. It's not your grandfather or grandmother's board of trade, and we need to continue to embrace this level of diversity. And we will.
Said. Beautifully said. Always a
you.
pleasure.
Thank
An
you,
honor.
Sam.
An honor. Thank you.
It's an honor to be with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ian Sherman joining us today, past chair of the Ottawa Board of Trade. When we come back, my friend Nick McCarthy is going to be here, and he's going to probably surprise you. Stay with us on Ottawa Business Matters. Welcome back to Ottawa Business Matters. I'm Sam LaPrade, and I'm so excited to welcome to the show Nick McCarthy from Beechwood Cemetery. Hello.
Thanks for having me, and nice to be together in person.
I know, in person, which is fantastic. We've interviewed a million times together about so many different subjects. And your role, so first of all, let's start there. What's your role at Beechwood?
I think I probably have the funnest job in the city, which is kind of ironic, right, since I work at a cemetery. I'm the Director of Marketing, Communications, and Community Outreach, which essentially means I make sure that the communities that we're connected to feel connected, they feel represented. I work with a lot of charities that work with us. I work with a lot of community festivals, places like Company of Fools. Chamberfest, a lot of different ways that we can give back, right? We're a 150-year-old business, and you can't be in the community for this long without giving back. So that's part of our core values within the company.
And we were talking earlier, we think you've been a member of the Ottawa Board of Trade the whole time the Ottawa Board of Trade has been around.
It seems that way, right?
Yeah.
Since we've been, we were incorporated in 1873, so odds are we've been part of the Board of Trade or the Chamber of Commerce since then, and a lot of our big founders originally would have been members with their own businesses, so it only makes sense. I bet some of the past chairs are some of our founders too, but I think that's a conversation for another show.
For sure. But I think, honestly, someone might be listening right now saying, why does Beechwood Cemetery, a member of the Ottawa Board of Trade, and they may not see the intersection? Explain that to us.
Well, I think there's a lot of different, so we're, in our community, we're one of the largest employers. So we employ about 100 people. Throughout the summer, where there are higher numbers than that, and it's really a place where people can come and learn their skill, learn their trades. We have a lot of up and coming horticulturalists. We have a lot of landscapers, a lot of people who just work on the grounds. But then, from a business perspective, right? We work with other businesses like suppliers. We work with florists. We'll work with caterers as well, and that brings us all in. So we're always connected with the community in that wonderful way.
It really is amazing, and I think about one of the most impactful moments of my career was you saying, Sam, come to Beechwood on the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation.
Yeah.
That day with Cindy Blackstock and so many other Indigenous leaders was so powerful for me that day. Why would you host an event like that?
Well, I think we've been around so long that history will always prove us right. And you can go back to the essential essence of Beechwood becoming. We were a non-denominational cemetery built for the community by the community. So we were always looking at ways to sort of do what's right. And even when the community would have thought that it was wrong, a perfect example is during the Chinese head tax period, we built a Chinese cemetery, which allowed the community to build roots, which allowed them to connect, which allowed the wonderful community of Chinatown, and then by proxy across the entire city, the wonderful businesses that they own. So when it came to our Truth and Reconciliation, or Reconciling History programming, it was the right thing to do. We have to address these injustices, and what a better place than a place of peace, of serenity, but also a place of community. And by reaching out to these communities, providing the truth, giving the history, the research, the background, it really illuminates the role that certain individuals at Beechwood would have had, either instituting the policies of the residential schools or being the first whistleblower. And that was somebody who, Dr. Peter Henderson Bryce, was somebody who was forgotten in history. So there's a lot of these heroes, and in the Chinese community, I would say Kwao Chin Ling, who fought the government at 90 years old to get them to apologize for the head tax. And I think there's all these figures in Canadian history that Beechwood has, and we have the opportunity to share. And it could be business leaders, it could be politicians, it could be the first female Supreme Court Justice of Canada. So it's a lot of our ability to share that history is what I find incredible.
And I think people think about a cemetery and funeral as very sad. And of course, you lose a loved one, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But you've really done this incredible job of inviting us into Beechwood to celebrate many of the leaders and really recognize many people that have created this city that, to be honest, like you just said, have been forgotten. So you welcome us in so beautifully. Do people find it a bit funny sometimes? Do people kind of say to you, "Oh, Nick, do I really want to go to Beechwood?" Because it might be surprising.
It is surprising, and I think some people do, right? I think there's a sense of tabooness with dying and death, right? I think people are always a little hesitant to go in those spaces, but it's probably the only thing that's a given in life, right? But as you're well aware, we're built so differently, right? We're built very much as a welcoming space, very non-traditional cemetery. And as we're looking to the future, we're looking at an expansion. We're looking at making an even more welcoming place so that we can bring that community in, bring that business, bring the philanthropy community in, and give them a space that's unique to them and unique to us. And I think we have those people who, once they come the first time, they'll come in and be like, "Oh, this is a little funny," and then they want to come back and they want to join us.
One of the most impactful things for me in 2023 was being asked by the Pearly Health Center to give keynote remarks regarding the big $10 million campaign that they had. And we were in, and you said, "Oh, Sam, you know, you have to go into this." Or I'd never been in the room before, and forgive me, what's the room
Sacred
called?
space,
Sacred
yeah.
space. So we walked in this room, and I just felt at peace. I couldn't believe that that's the room I had the opportunity to speak in. But these spaces that you have, I don't think unless someone's been there, they really understand what you have to offer.
Well, I think from a service delivery, right? So our philosophy is that we're going to give that family, that individual, the last great thing. That's what we have to do in our sector, right? That's what we believe in. How can we provide that last great opportunity to either celebrate somebody, to mourn somebody, to grieve somebody, or even to celebrate somebody new who they didn't know about? So our spaces are really built to sort of be that unique feature that allows the family to tell their story and allows the community to tell their story. So the sacred space itself is a 9-sided to represent the 9 world religions. It has a rock that was pushed through the last glacial ice age to the center of it. It was actually outside the building. We moved it to the center. But as we're looking to expand, we're looking to make sure that these spaces are welcoming, that they're connecting community, and that they're reflective of our community and then the changing needs. But again, the central mantra of our business is let's provide that family, that community, that one last great thing. Because it's that beautiful moment that I think people get at Beechwood, and it's the beautiful moment that our funeral directors are able to provide them.
Well, 150 years and how the city would have changed. We were speaking earlier with Cindy VanBuskirk about rural and urban. And that obviously came together because you would have been sort of outside the city a bit at one point.
Yeah, so when we were founded, we were in the outskirts of the city, right? So there was a really dirt road leading us, and I think there was a ferry. We were actually in New Edinburgh, which was founded by one of our founders, very much a working class community, right, of stonemasons, and then it became what it is now, a diplomatic community. But I think that's the beauty of Ottawa, right? We're expanding, we're growing, we're connecting, but we've always been there, 160 acres in the center of the city. We're this wonderful green space where on any given day you'll have stroller clubs come in, you'll have painters, you'll have photographers. Our tulips are out right now, so we have a lot of photographers walking around. And it's something that we want. We want people to use the space. We want people to feel connected. So I think that's being the largest park in Vanier, in New Edinburgh, in our community, and probably one of the largest green spaces in the city. It allows us to sort of give back to the community in that way too.
It's so beautiful. So how can people visit?
Well, so we're open from sunrise to sunset, and then there's all kinds of activities throughout the year, right? Our next activity is we're celebrating the history of our Chinese community on Saturday at 10 o'clock near our pagoda. We'll be placing flowers to the ancestors. Very, very traditional. We want to make sure the community knows how long we've been with them. But across the year, we have military events. We have our RCMP events coming up. We have our Spies in the Cemetery event, where we have an intelligence officer tell a story about their history. So it's always diverse, always different. We've had an Irish event, Scottish events. We welcome the Somali community at the end of April. Incredible cultural community with bright, vibrant artifacts that they're starting to share with with outside their community. So we were really, really pleased with that. So take a look at the website, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X now, everywhere you can find us, because we're just about everywhere.
Yeah, it's really incredible. And the tours, I think, for history buffs are a big draw as well.
Yeah, we've changed the format of our tours because we're so large. We've split the cemetery in half. So we have, so you can come at the end of the month, you can come on a Sunday, either at the pagoda or at the gazebo where all our tulips are, and you can take either an Eastern or Western tour. And then we started a whole series called the Beechwood Bites, because a lot of people end up asking us, like, you're in news, so it's like you'd want that tour of the reporters and the newscasters and stuff like that. So we have those tours available throughout the summer months as well.
Well, that's fascinating. Would you do anything else, Nick? Because this just seems like this job was made for you.
No, I don't think so. I really, it's the cemetery really represents a love letter to our story, our city, right? It embodies everything that Ottawa, Bytown turned into Ottawa became, right? So it's this wonderful place of people who have given so much. We look at our veterans, we look at our military members, we look at the RCMP policing, but we also look at all the philanthropists that are buried at Beechwood, all the business owners, all the developers, all the people who were the first, like the first women Supreme Court justice, the first reporters who broke through the men's only newspapers business, right? So we have all these wonderful people, and it's like, it's beholden, and I love the fact that I can share that with our community.
And I think people are, once again, really, you know, if they haven't visited, they're missing out. And I really encourage people to visit and to spend time in the space. I've gone to honor people that have passed, and I've gone there to celebrate. And I think I respect both equally, to be honest. Yeah.
Oh, I think that's the key, right? We're always looking to sort of find ways to bring people back in. And some people will not be able to come back after losing somebody. So having a Chamberfest event, having a movie allows people the opportunity to say, I can come back and I can go visit and then do something and create a new memory. So I think that's what's important.
Can I share my favorite time of year to come?
Yes, absolutely.
Is the fall. The fall is spectacular. The leaves, it just feels so picturesque. And I got to spend the fall there last year with you, but it was just, it was incredible.
Well, yeah, we have 6,800 trees that we take care of. We're really working towards our Arboretum project. So the idea of being the National Arboretum of Canada or something along those lines. We'll figure out the name.
Yeah.
So that's something that's coming along. So we're planting different varieties. We're looking to really diversify our tree portfolio, if you will. So that's a new thing that's coming around.
It's amazing. It's amazing. What would you say to somebody that maybe is thinking about becoming a member of the Ottawa Board of Trade?
I think it's a great opportunity. I think the Board of Trade provides you access to different people that you may not in your different networks. We're all kind of siloed at work. Well, some of us, you and I are not, but some of us can be siloed in the industries we work for. And being able to have mentors outside the community or networking outside of the community you work with, I think is key. And so being a Board of Trade member for over 150 years, I think it speaks for itself, right? We've been able to partner with them, we've been able to work with them, and we've been able to get a lot of benefits over the course of the last 150 years.
Absolutely. You look great for 150, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. Nick McCarthy joining us from Beechwood Cemetery. Thank you to all of our guests today. Thanks for joining us on Ottawa Business Matters. And remember, support local.